Smile, be, chat, join for networking.
Thank you, guys. It's always lovely to have a warm hand on your opening. So my name is Chris Clarke. This is the vibe of it. The jokes get worse, I'm afraid. So could be the longest 18 minutes of your life. That's all I'm saying. My name is Chris Clarke and I'm the GaMechnaGer. We specialise in taking people who are stuck and hating themselves to fall in love with themselves. And I guess that pretty much describes who I was. You see, we're lucky today because the old Chris Clarke, he was a right miserable bastard. Oh, God. He was angry. Oh, Janine, he was angry. He really had issues. And do you know what he really had? He had stories. Stories. So many stories. And today, darlings, I want to share something with you that, as I was thinking about this foresight, what is it that's going to help you guys? What is it that's going to be useful to you that you could take home and actually implement and maybe get some traction with it? And so I want to talk about stories today. Today we're going to fall in love with who we are. Ooh. Sorry, you misunderstood. Today we're going to fall in love with who we are. Ooh. There you are. And we're going to learn how to speak to ourselves in a really great way. Would that be good? Yes. I thought so. And also I'm just going to give you a couple of little sweeteners at the end, which I think you'll find really great. Okay, so I look a bit knackered today, don't I? A little bit tired. At 3 o'clock this morning, there was a thud at the bottom of the bed. A heavy thud. And it repeated, and it repeated. And I could hear it, but I was asleep, clearly, but I was stirring. And my partner, Paul, yes, he's gay. Just get it over with, just let's get it out there. I'm not gay, he's gay. I elbowed him. Can you hear that thud? Yeah, I can hear that thud. Now my life changed about 2 years ago, 2 and a bit years ago. We moved into our new home, and the home is fabulous. It's an old farmhouse, but there was somebody super special there, even more than the house, and it was Beryl. Now Beryl is a beautiful grey British blue short hair pussycat. Now I've never been big in pussy. But this pussycat changed my world. She changed my world. And actually, Beryl was a little bit poorly when she stayed with us for 18 months, and then we said farewell. But my life was changed. And so now share our home with 5 gorgeous pussycats. Cyril, Mavis, Myrtle, Vera, and Maud. And I could hear this thud at the bottom of the bed. And I thought, without even opening my eyes, Michael, I thought, I know what that is. Cyril. He's bought something in. He's bought something in, and he's in the darkness playing with it. I don't know whether you've ever played with anything in the darkness before. But he was sharing what he'd played with. I reached over, turned the light on, and yes, he had. He was sharing it with his mum, Maud, and his sister, Myrtle, and it was a mouse. Now, our Paul loves to shop. I don't really get shopping unless it's in B&Q or IKEA, because I like to sit on the furniture and things. But he likes to shop, and so I let him go shopping this time, and I'd gone into Pets at Home to look at the rabbits and things like that. And there was a book. Now, I wouldn't buy it because it was £17.99, but I was flicking through it, browsing, killing time whilst Paulie was shopping, and it said, this is even before we had pussies in our lives, it said, when they bring something in, this is super important to remember. So, we're going to come back to that in a moment. All will be revealed. So I want to tell you, there were 3 things really that over my journey, I feel like I've had a couple of chapters, and over my journey, it's certainly been GaMechnaGer, that have made a profound difference to who I am and how I feel about myself. And the first one is actually recognizing that I talk a lot to myself. I decided that most people weren't listening, so I just talked to myself anyway. So talk to myself, and do you guys talk to yourselves? Yeah? Yeah. And people don't necessarily always realize that they're talking to themselves, and they definitely don't know what they're saying to themselves. So I just want to share something, because I think I have a bit of a penchant for making complicated things really super simple. So you'll have heard there are lots of different approaches to speaking to yourself, and NLP and CBT and lots of holistic therapies and things. So here's how I see the world. Okay. Just whilst I put my gloves on, because this is very, very important, I'm going to take something very complicated and make it super simple. Just shout out to me things, qualities that resonate with you from people that you've loved in your life, that you aspire to be like. Shout out. This is the audience participation bit, Janine. Okay. All right. Not this bit, the shouting out bit. So what have we got? What sort of things? That's it. If you couldn't shout so loudly, because I can't hear you all at the same time. But we've got trust. Good, gorgeous, thank you.
Generosity.
Generosity.
Yeah,
passion.
Inspiration.
Inspiration. Confidence. Let's do one more.
Kindness.
Kindness and honesty. Brilliant. Now, here's the first thing that really shifted for me. I'd come from a corporate background working for the mighty IT giants, and I'd been transfixed on getting ahead by getting smarter and qualifications and all that sort of gubbins. All of what you just said, all the things that resonate with us as human beings are skills, attitudes, or gifts. Are the things that you've just said skills, or are they an attitude, or are they a gift? What do you reckon? Attitudes, aren't they? Attitudes. All the things that actually make us special are attitudes. Wouldn't it be super cool if we could learn how to get a better attitude? This, darlings, is your mind. And there are two parts to your mind. There's the conscious and the unconscious part. You knew that already, right? Yeah. You knew that. Now, inside this mind, we imagine that our conscious mind is in control, because we spend a lot of time moving ourselves forward. You see, I think in my conscious mind, picturing it, Leonardo DiCaprio walking through the airport with his entourage, passion, strength, confidence. They're there, they're walking through, aren't they? Yeah? That's the conscious mind. But that's not the guy that's in charge. The unconscious mind's in charge, and the unconscious mind is a bit like Celebrity Coach Trip with Gonzo from the Muppets driving it, and you're being flung around in the back, and he's off the verge going, "We're all gonna die!" It's all gone chaos. And unfortunately, that's who's in charge most of the time. So here's our unconscious mind. And there's some phenomenal studies, but when you sort of average out these studies, fundamentally what happens is that this mind is filled with water. And they reckon that from the ages of 0, that's birth, through to 18, that actually you're like a sponge, soaking up everything. The folks around you, all of that sort of great stuff. You're like a sponge, just bringing it in. And I go, well, I get that. We get that, right? But the challenge is this, that in this water, they also say that every time you hear a negative thought, there's a drop of blue dye that goes in. Drop of blue dye. And it goes. Crazy. That every time somebody says, don't do this, don't do that, you're not good enough, you'll never get that, why don't you just sit down, be quiet, just fit in, just blend in, there's a bit of blue dye that goes in. Now that wouldn't be really that big of a deal, would it? Only that they reckon that every hour for your life through to 18, a drop of blue dye goes in. That's about 150,000 drops of blue dye in your mind by the time you're 18. Now, just to give it a comparison, we've got yellow dye. Yay! And yellow dye, of course, represents all the great stuff. The certificate that you get for doing well. The pat on the back. But I'm sorry, guys, those are really tiny little drops that are going in comparison to the blue. What colour is the water?
Blue.
Well, it's midnight blue. On an average household, it's midnight blue by the time you get to 18, and if you're super lucky, it might be a little bit green. Now, here's what happens. We then rock up into our adult worlds. Leonardo. gonzo, really, in charge. And you, I want to be self-employed, Janine, I want to be self-employed. And you rock up into self-employment with this as a backdrop. And you wonder why you don't do the things you should be doing, or you want to do, or you know you could do. You wonder why it doesn't feel easy. Maybe you should just go and get a job. Fit in. Don't like it. But at least I wouldn't have to speak to people. And this is the challenge, that actually the very first thing we have to do is we have to take responsibility for the yellow dye. Because when you get to 18, I'm telling you, on the blue one, you take the lid off. You take it off your parents, the blue dye, and you say, listen, you've been putting drops in all these 18 years. You take the blue dye off your parents, and you say, let me show you how to pour blue dye in. And you rip that lid off that bugger, and you pour it in. That's what happens from 18 onwards. Now, we have a responsibility to turn this water green. Because only by green do we neutralize it to stand a chance of seeing the world differently and actually getting it to yellow. Would you like your water to be yellow?
Yes.
See me afterwards. Now, here's the thing. Now we understand that that's our backdrop and we have a responsibility. So people say, I do mindfulness or I speak really well to myself. And I go, that's phenomenal. I'm really thrilled for you. But you know what? If you put 3 drops of really great yellow in and you're still pouring blue in, it's still going to be blue. Focus on the triangle. There are 3 sides to the triangle. This triangle, by the way, has been in my family for about 30, 40 years. My dad had it before. This morning I was like, where's that triangle? There are 3 sides. I want you to remember this, because I want to help you to take control of the center space. That's the emotional space. Focus, language, physiology. What you focus on in that moment decides whether it's likely to be blue or likely to be yellow. Yeah? How you speak to yourself, the language that you use, how you speak to yourself, determines whether you're celebrating the yellow or you're making it tough and the blue's coming in. And the physiology, the body language, oh man. You know those old wives' tales where they go, oh, if you're stuck at a computer and you can't think, go for a walk around the office. And then when you come back, it's sorted. Do you know that? It's true, because what you're doing is you're changing the vibe, the energy within the body. Everything's changing. So you see the world differently and you talk to yourself with different resonance. Focus, language, physiology. If you're seeing happiness, it's because you're focusing and you're speaking in a different way and you're doing something with your body. If you're seeing sadness, fear, anger, hurt, guilt, we're doing something different. And darlings, let me tell you something, because folks sometimes say, oh, but Chris, I've never really been that happy. I've never really thought that way. And I go, if you can do seriously pissed off, then you're an expert at emotional mastery. If you can do an emotion of any type, then you're already an expert. All we have to do is change the ingredients to bake a different cake. Got it? I don't hang around pets at home very often. I really don't. But on this occasion, gratitude was immense, because I read that the one thing you have to do is that when those pussycats bring in that mouse, you've got to celebrate them. You've got to let them know that it's the best thing they've ever done. Otherwise, those bastards will be out there dragging one of the ponies through the letterbox. Because they are wired to give gifts. So my question to you guys is this. What gifts are you giving to yourself? I know what happy dance I did at 3 o'clock this morning for Cyril. Little bastard. So he was throwing that mouse high with his mum and his sister all around, having a little go at it. But you have to celebrate all of those parts if you want to see the world differently. Guys, my name's Chris Clarke. I'm the Game Changer, and I'm a focused, passionate, courageous, and driven person. Who are you? Thank you.
Smile, be chat, join for networking.